With a walk around then to introduce the car that we're looking at today, the Brabus 800, based on the Mercedes-AMG S63 4MATIC Plus. Of course, the S-Class is the flagship from the Mercedes-Benz lineup. You can have the car in a number of different body styles, from the normal saloon to the super extended limousine called the Pullman, and also the Cabriolet and the Coupe. It mixes luxury with technology to become the ultimate powerhouse, and I think there aren't really many better ways to get around than in one of these. When it goes to AMG to get their treatment, in this case for the facelift, they've done away with the old 5.5 litre V8, and the car now has the 4 litre bi-turbo V8, which in standard form with the permanent all-wheel drive setup would offer 612 horsepower. Brabus then take that number and increase it by almost 200 horsepower up to 800, and the torque also goes from 850 newton meters up to 1000 in total. That means 0 to 100 kilometers an hour goes down from the standard 3.5 seconds to this car doing it in just 3.1. Visually, you can see there are a number of changes. We can go in closer to have a look at those in more detail, but as is always the case with Brabus, it's presented in black paint, menacing and aggressive. So if we start right around the front, you have the Panamericana front grille with the radar sensor transformed to the Brabus logo, smoked logos in fact there, and also worn up at the top. Coming down though towards the lower section, you can see the carbon fibre front splitter. You've also got those carbon surrounds around the intakes for the cooling, and the winglets at the sides as well. The facelift brought in new headlights. They're the very very clever lights, as you can imagine, and then you come around to the side and you've got the 21-inch forged monoblock F wheels. In fact, down at the bottom there is even a plaque that tells us so. And for this car they've mixed in some red accents, so the Brabus logo here, the Brabus logo also on the brake caliper, and just notice how big those discs are. Crazy when you look at them. We've got some carbon fibre mirror caps, 21-inch wheels all around, and then at the rear you've got the carbon fibre lip spoiler on the boot lid with this shaping to it, as well as you go round the Brabus and the 800 logo designation for the naming badges. And then down towards the back, of course, we've got the carbon fibre diffuser and the signature Brabus exhaust system, the new stainless steel exhaust that's been installed onto this that we can hear in a second when we jump in to fire it into life. So what's so special about the Coupe? I think this kind of shape, especially in a large form car, is just something, it oozes style and elegance, and in this case mixes it with technology. And if you look at the interior, in fact, you've got the dual digital displays. No Brabus upgrades to the interior of this specific car. They can do complete retrims and refits of different models, but you've got every technology option that you could imagine wanting to have. So let's just take a step in here right now, keyless system, and fire it up. And it barks into life. So you have a number of different driving modes, which are controlled through the dynamic selector here in the center console, which also changed the exhaust valve. So from comfort to sport, then if we go to Sport Plus, you can hear the revs increasing, but also the valve opening, which it is also open in race. And although the engine is cold at the moment, we can't hear too much of it. We'll come back for a sound check later on, but just to give you a taster, this thing is going to sound epic. So in terms of the technology inside, you've got the dual 12.3-inch digital displays for the dashboard and for the infotainment. Check out inside the glove box, where you've got the fragrance dispenser, if you would like your favorite smell to be had inside the cabin of the car. One thing I quite like, the roof. You can open this up, open the large glass roof, and you will also see you have the electric glass, which can be made darker and lighter at the push of a button if you'd like to have the large sunroof style above you. Then in the rear, if I lean through here, inside the back, there is even a fridge in there if you want to keep your champagne bottles cool inside the car while you're driving along. So you get a sense we've got a lot to play with, but let's head on out now and see what this is like on the roads to enjoy driving. The thing is, you start driving in this car and it just feels like a quiet, luxurious vehicle. There's nothing intruding into the cabin. It is incredibly smooth. The ride is gentle. We're in comfort mode, of course, and it just cruises along. The shifts happen completely in the background. We've got the 9-speed AMG speed shift. You have a nice seating position, very comfortable seats. In fact, the steering wheel is good. I really like the AMG sports steering wheel with the controls, all the interaction you have, and basically, it's just a very, very, very nice place to be. You can turn on adaptive cruise control, you've got lane assistance, you've got blind spot monitoring, you've got just about every safety system that you could imagine under the sun at all. But let's head out on towards the autobahns and try and find some open stretches, because, I mean, driving like this, what more can I tell you other than it is super gentle and a really, really, really nice place to be chilling. I mean, just come to a stop, we've obviously got stop start. I probably actually want to put it through different driving modes. So let's go through Sport. Let's go into Sport Plus, in fact, where obviously the gearbox will hold itself in a much lower gear. We'll have more throttle response. The suspension has firmed up as well. You have independent control of the air suspension system. Basically, the S-Class has always been the launching bed for new technology products within Mercedes cars, and that has not sort of ceased at any point. So this car has everything that you could think about that is available in a Mercedes car in one. And I'm a big fan, of course, of the cars. I like this engine an awful lot, and I like it even more in Brabus configuration with 800 or so horsepower. That's the noise of a car just failing to do the merge and turn and letting us in, unfortunately. But we will head on out. We do have a slower stretch to get things started and see what we can find. I would say that this is going to be the normal habitat for this kind of car. However, I am going to put the suspension into the softer mode, which is slightly more pleasant on the Autobahn. It gets a little bit firm, but of course the car has some pretty good dynamic capabilities when you do take it out towards the racetrack. I will also pop it into manual so we can use the shifter paddles and just drop some gears and experience a little bit of what this car can do on the de-restricted Autobahns. And this is where the numbers just pick up so effortlessly. Honestly, I might sometimes use that term too much, but in this car, with 1,000 Newton meters of torque, you really get a sense that it just could fly down the Autobahns. I'm short shifting slightly because we're still on a fairly early engine, but we're over 200 kilometers an hour, and it just balls along. Absolutely blasts along. So back onto the brakes. Obviously, as I showed you earlier, we've got a lot of stopping power from some huge discs. The S-Class is by no means a lightweight vehicle, but this is where you could go onto the cruise control, turn this on with the left-hand side of the steering wheel, enable cruise control, set it for your desired speed. There's a great head-up display giving me lots of information, and now it just kind of handles things on its own. And you also have, with the mode selector, individual mode, so you can configure the car exactly how you'd like it. You could set this mode, for example, aggressively in terms of the powertrain throttle response, but soft on suspension. Now we've got a small stretch just opening up in front again. In fact, 5th gear, instant torque, the numbers just start climbing with my foot pressed down towards the floor. No harm or stress or anything to the car, just it oozes along. And you're all the time sitting here in an S-Class. Being a larger car, you have a slightly higher seating position than in the smaller variants, but everything you can see and touch and feel is all very, very nice. Of course, from a technology side, as I've said, we've got so much more to show you through when we get back, but there's a heater that can blow out right behind your neck. You've got massaging seats. Literally, honestly, you think of it, it's probably inside this car. But driving like this, it just cruises. It just cruises along so easily. How about this for slightly ironic? So the sound deadening in this car is so good and it is so quiet that if I do drop down some gears, you don't really hear all that much. You get a bit of the crackles going on and a bit of the snaps on the upshift, but it's not really that loud. It's a long car, so the exhausts are way out at the back, and well, we don't hear all that much of them. So if I just open the window quickly, you can hear a little bit more. It's such a cool sound, snapping away, banging away. I think, you know, it's a cheeky characteristic of an otherwise very, very calm car. So the S Coupe, you know, it's a statement piece, right? It's the slightly less practical version of an S Saloon. It's large, it's powerful, it's perhaps not the most necessary, but it's oh so cool, so cool. Why not do a Brabus 800 upgrade? We have a stretch that's de-restricted, but it is looking very, very busy on the Autobahns today. But what I can tell you from previous experience, because I have driven the S-Class Saloon with the 800 engine upgrade from Brabus, is that the rate it picks up towards the VMAX, which is limited to around, I think, just over 300 kilometers an hour, basically, what, 190 miles an hour or so, basically more than quick enough, is that it gets there in a way that not much else does, with a quietness about it, with a smoothness about it, and just that complete ease and sense of power that not really very much else can replicate, to be completely honest. I mean, I do wish that we could put the foot down a touch and hear a little bit more of this, but sadly, it doesn't really look like it's going to be today. I'm swapping over towards another road that might be slightly better for us, but we shall see. In any case, it's very fun, that's for sure. Empty autobahns, this is what we like. Away we go, the power delivery with the stability from the four-wheel drive system. It picks up so impressively. A small little opportunity then. It's just a touch too busy today, unfortunately, but we're heading back towards Brabus because there are plenty more things to show you about this car in the interior, including the infrared camera system, of course, because who doesn't need to have infrared inside the car? One thing that annoys me slightly, if you drift towards the line to move lanes, for example, and you don't indicate to do so, it kind of grabs at the steering wheel sometimes and tugs you back a little bit more strongly than you want it to. Of course, that's a safety system from Mercedes. It makes sense, but in my opinion, it's a touch overkill. I'd like it to be slightly less intrusive in the way it goes about it. Anyway, just downshift under the tunnel, hey, under the bridge, because why not? I'm going to be exiting here and I'll show you more through the interior. Let me run you through then some of the functionality that we have in this car, and believe me, there is almost too much to actually show you in one single video, but we can explore it a little bit, starting I think immediately with the dual widescreen cockpit displays. You've got these two 12.3-inch screens, one in front of you that's controlled from the left-hand side of the steering wheel, and the one to the right for the main infotainment, navigation, music, that kind of thing, controlled via the right-hand side or via the toggle down here in the center console. But the steering wheel itself just has this slightly squared appearance to it. You've got these touch controls to cycle through the different screens, for example. And I just think this whole system works so incredibly well. I've shown in previous videos with different Mercedes models how it all works and the different screens that you have available to you, but you can literally, you name it, you can set this up how you want. And that noise, by the way, was the retractable seat handlers, I guess, returning back, because when you step into the car, they actually come forwards like that to feed the seatbelt to you, to make it a little bit easier to grab a hold of. So inside here, for example, the head-up display, can you see this just in front of me? Clear display, lots of information, your cruise control and the like, all displayed up there. And you can even change the whole screen actually to a completely different view. So from sporty to classic to progressive, depending how you'd like it to look. It's all a very, very nice system. And then down here also on the left, you have your cruise control toggles, the distance to the vehicle in front. To jump up and down, you can press it and go 5 kilometers an hour in one single thing, or resume or cancel on the left as well. But over to the right hand side, you have similar controls to do the main central screen, where you cycle across to go through the different screens. And you also have the toggle here, which has a cool feature about it, so it spins pretty freely, but when you get to the right hand side, it actually physically stops it spinning any further. Same with the left, so you can only go through rather than kind of endlessly spinning beyond at the end. But here, if we go into vehicle, of course we're currently in German language, but I can tell you a little bit. Obviously, climate control, energizing comfort, which is a single system that basically merges together lots of different features, like the air conditioning, the heated seats, the lumbar control for a series of different moods, also the fragrance dispenser, all together depending how you'd like it. In dynamic select, you can individually configure your driving mode, so you can see here you've got the engine, you've got the gearbox, you've got the air suspension control, the exhaust noise and the traction, all configurable to your ideal specification. If we just return back, you've got the track control. Yes, you have an ability to load racetracks and have your time and things monitored in here. And then, I just went one further than I meant to go. That's some fuel economy data to the assistance, where literally it's controlling everything. So reading road signs, which it informs you here, and also in the head-up display, the camera and parking assistant, the headlight or detection, active braking of the vehicle in front, brakes, then the car brakes as well, lane control, attention assist if you need to go for a coffee break. I'm doing the best I can, detecting the white lines at the side of the road, blind spot monitoring, just everything, basically absolutely everything, pedestrian safety as well. So there are lots and lots and lots and lots of safety systems available, which is all very nice to have. You've got in-car office, you can have a SIM card in here, it can feed data and be a hotspot to your mobile phone. The navigation, actually, the adaptive cruise control will automatically adjust as it detects and reads road signs at the side of the road to a new speed. It will detect when you get to a corner and slow you down slightly to go around the corner to make the ride more comfortable. It knows everything. Then up here you have hotkeys to some of these controls, so the assisted steering, you can see that brings up the notification to the bottom left of the screen, the lane assistance, parking sensors. Then you've got the infrared camera, so if we load this up, of course at the moment you can just see in front of us, but were it to be completely pitch black outside, we could see forwards. Not that you should ever drive with your lights off, but it does give you just another vision of what's going on in front of you. Then the head-up display, and then the button to raise, the button to raise the air suspension to lift the entire car up, just to get over some bumps or uneven ground should you need to. So again, lots more going on there. Behind the steering wheel, you've got the manual shifter paddles, should you choose to use them. They stay completely out of the way, actually, if you're not using them, which is, again, placed very well. You've got your wiper and light stalk on the left, automatic wipers, automatic lights, automatic everything, as you can imagine. And on the right hand side you have your gear selector, where you press it down to go into drive, up to go into reverse, or park on the end if you wish to park the vehicle, where, given that we're currently, as you can see, in race mode, I'll just return this back to the main trip information. Let's have a little listen to how it sounds. How can you not love those bangs and cracks? It's such a good sound. Now with the dynamic selector here, if we put it back into comfort mode, you can actually straight immediately hear the difference with this. It basically just doesn't have those raspy cracks at the end. It's just all round a touch quieter. So I'll leave it in comfort mode while I continue to just show you a little bit more around the interior. So further down to the left, you have your lights, fog lights, your electronic handbrake down here. On the door, we've obviously got the Burmester sound system, which sounds incredible. Your electric memory seats, you've got your 2 memory functions here. On the upper level, you've got the ventilated seat. If you want to be cooler through the perforations in the seat, you can actually hear the motors of that coming on, blowing air out through these perforations in the seat into my back. You also have the heated seat, of course, standard functionality. Then you have the button here, which would control this. So in a convertible, very nice to have warm air blowing out of the back of your headrest, the air scarf system. And then finally, you have the button here that releases the headrest. So let's just turn off the heated seat for the moment. And then underneath it, you have the rear blind. So if I just show you how this works, I press of that button, and the blind will close over the back, the sun blind, if you want it to stay a little bit cooler in the car, and then one press again will open that back up. But just look at this roof. Such a large panel and piece right above us, and then, like I showed you earlier, you just press the button and it tints it with the electrochroming, and then it gets much, much darker and not too intense on the inside. So up top, you've got a few other controls, obviously to close the blind, one touch. You have here your usual SOS button, so if in case of emergency you can hit the button and get in touch with somebody who can help you out, your reading lights, and a sunglasses storage bucket as well right there. The borderless rearview mirror looks very, very nice, although rear visibility not the best because we've got a long car with a sloping rear roof, but you can see, I suppose, some things out there. And one thing actually I do like that I need to talk about quickly, by turning on the heated seat, the armrest is heated as well. This all heats up if either side has its heated seat turned on. How cool is that? So continuing forward to more of the controls, you have at the front a few of your hotkeys to jump to certain things, so seat settings, for example. If you'd like to turn on your massage functionality or adjust the lumbar, you've got various different massaging modes. You can actually go through hot, activating, classic, mobilizing, you name it, all in there. You can adjust the side bolsters as well. That's all through the seat control, then navigation, radio, hazards, media, telephone, and straight to the car settings as well, if you want to get in there. So that's, again, a one-touch button. You've got a return and a home and your toggle. Then to either side, you've got some of your driving controls. So here, you've got the cameras. Top-down 360 camera view is available. In fact, many different modes are available because you can load up each camera independently, depending on what you would like to see, to make your life as easy as possible to park the vehicle. And then you can also search for a parking space, have the car detect, as you can see, as you're driving past the space, and then park itself. So continuing here, we've got auto stop start, we've got the driving modes, we've got the manual gearbox, we've got the different traction control settings. On the right, we've got our multi-stage, triple stage air suspension system, and the button here for the exhaust valve. So you can open it up when you're in comfort mode, all hidden beneath the touchpad where you can type in navigation addresses, for example, just press home or swipe it for next track and last track and that kind of thing. Then at the front, just to open up, you've got the keypad charging sensor, you've got some large cup holders, you've got a 12-volt socket tucked in there, all that neatly hides away beneath that. You also have a tray that opens up here, discreet little storage tray if you'd like to put your phone, for example, in there, and nobody would know it was there, all beneath the usual controls for the climate control, which, as you can imagine, offer a lot of different modes and settings and configuration, with these air conditioning vents neatly integrated into the dashboard, which in fact all just swoops around very nicely towards the door. And then the same controls again for the passenger side, although one difference, the driver has the button just down here to open the power fold boot as well at the rear. Only other thing I think to show you, just inside the glove box again, where we've got a CD changer, a little bit of space above that, and our fragrances and the spare key at the moment. But yeah, all pretty much, I guess, as you would expect. So to look back, just take a look at the passenger seat. You can see the styling of it. It's quite a bulky item, but that's because it's got so many motors and things to adjust and configure and control and change just about every setting that you can imagine to make it as comfortable as possible. So if I stop the car for a moment and just climb on out to show you the rear for a moment, back here, and also pop open the engine bay as well. Let's just do that quickly before we head around to the front. There we go, find the catch. If you fold the seat forward, it will electronically motorise, do the rest. You've got this strange bucket on the back, which is not particularly helpful because you couldn't put a document in there. But anyway, to continue around, at the back, more air vents, storage bucket in here. You've got these storage areas too, some 12-volt sockets at the back, but just some small items you could place in there. We've also got some Brabus floor mats down here too, I noticed, but basically the fit and finish and quality continues. You've got heated seats back here as well with a control on the side. The sound system extends into the rear, and if we open this up, you can see more storage, another nice storage bucket in the armrest, your cup holders at the front, and then back here, if we open it, we have the fridge. That is literally a fridge in the rear, so I'm going to climb in just to make this a little bit easier. But when turned on, you can fit a few bottles in there, maybe I think 3 in total. And yeah, takes up a little bit of the boot space, but nice and easy, multiple layers so that it's insulated away in terms of the sound, but all works pretty well. So headroom, let's just consider this. I think legroom is going to be the biggest problem. Headroom is okay. I mean, a tall person wouldn't be particularly comfortable, to be honest. And if I just do this, let's see what I'm in for. The seat was in my position. Okay, that worked. My knees are squeezed, shall we say, but I could sit here for a short journey, but probably a short journey at most, because it's quite claustrophobic. Anyway, let me climb back out. We need to take a look at the Brabus engine bay. Oh, it's definitely awkward to climb out of there, catching my feet as I did so. Come around towards the front, pop open this lovely engine bay. Check that out. The carbon fibre engine cover over the 4-litre bi-turbo V8. And one thing I really like is there is gold metallic flake in the lacquer on the carbon fibre. It just looks really, really nice. So to get the extra power, new turbochargers, new ECU of course, new exhaust system. We're talking nearly 200 horsepower more, 188 horsepower more, and 150 newton meters more as well. But all the magicians at Brabus's work to make that possible. Always makes for a very good package. I'll just drop this back down, explore around the exterior again. I'll show you in the boot. Actually, let's come have a look at this. You can see the space available. You actually just pop that and it opens up. That's also the rear camera, so that folds back to pop out the rear camera so it stays clean. Back here you can see the fridge does intrude into the rear space, but I guess not really an overall shortage of space going on. So what I was saying just about this is when you put the car into reverse, that kind of pops out and then you get the rear camera, so it never gets dirty, which is normally a problem of a rear camera. But I think that is pretty much everything there is to show you today about the Brabus 850S Coupe. So I hope you've enjoyed this pretty detailed look at the car today. Unfortunately, not too much of an opportunity to really stretch the legs. But as I started out, is there anything cooler and more baller than a Brabus S-Class Coupe with 800 horsepower, finished like this, the gloss black with the carbon fibre accents, in a car that mixes that much luxury and technology to go with it. So a big thanks to them for the opportunity to drive the car today. A big thanks to you guys as always for watching. I appreciate your support. But that is it for this time. I will see you again very soon. Cheers!